I want to show you something, and once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. It shows up in medicine, in law, in cybersecurity, in day trading, and it shows up in astrology, human design, numerology, and cardology. Same pattern every time. Let me show you what I mean. A doctor doesn't diagnose you on one symptom. You come in with a headache, they don't hand you a prescription and send you home. They ask questions. They run blood work. They look at your history. They order imaging. Multiple independent data points have to agree before they put a name on what's happening because a misdiagnosis of one symptom isn't just wrong, it's dangerous. A prosecutor doesn't take a case to trial on one witness. One person saying they saw something happen is not enough. They need corroborating evidence, physical evidence, financial records, testimony from multiple independent sources, all pointing to the same conclusion. That's what beyond reasonable doubt actually means. Not that one thing happened, but that multiple independent sources confirm the same thing. A security analyst doesn't respond to one alert. One anomaly in the network could be anything. They look for patterns across multiple independent systems, network traffic, endpoint behavior, log data, before they call something a confirmed breach. One alert is noise. Three independent systems flagging the same behavior is an incident. A trader doesn't enter a position on one indicator. The setup can look perfect on one chart and still be wrong. You wait for confluence, price action, volume, structure, and timing, all agreeing at the same time. One signal is interesting, confluence is a trade. Now, four of those have in common. None of them act on one source. They all wait for multiple independent confirmations before calling something real. That's not caution. That's methodology. That's how serious fields handle pattern recognition. Most people think they are their sun sign. That's it. That's the whole conversation. You're a Scorpio, you're a Libra. And because that's what gets pushed, the horoscope column, the memes, the compatibility posts, that's what people know. But your actual astrology birth chart has all 12 signs in it, every single one. Your sun might be a Scorpio, but your rising could be Gemini. Your moon could be Pisces. And the person who says, I hate Scorpios, doesn't realize Scorpio is sitting somewhere in their own chart. People dismiss astrology entirely because the sun sign version doesn't resonate. They never got the full birth chart. They got one data point and called it the whole picture. Most people know their life path number. That's the entry point, and it's real. But your full numerology profile has an expression number, a soul urge, a personality number, pinnacles, challenges, personal year cycles. The life path is one layer of a multi layered system. People do one calculation, it partially resonates, partially doesn't, and they move on thinking numerology doesn't work for them. It wasn't numerology that didn't work. It was one number standing in for an entire system. Human design gets slightly further. People learn their type, generator, projector, manifester, reflector. That's meaningful. But your type is one piece. Your authority, how you're actually designed to make decisions, that's different. Your profile, the role you're here to play, that's different. Your defined and undefined centers, where you're consistent and where you absorb other people's energy, completely different. Most people know their type and they think they know their design. They have one layer of a nine center system. Most people have never heard of cardology, and that's the point. It's an ancient system that maps your birth date to a 52 card deck and calculates your life theme, your timing, your relationship patterns, your prosperity mechanism. It's been around for centuries. It's just not mainstream, which means the people working with it have access to a layer of information that most readers don't even know exist. So here's the pattern. In every esoteric system, the mainstream version gets you one piece and calls it the whole thing. And people either partially resonate and stay confused, or don't resonate at all and walk away. Not because the system doesn't work, but because they were only ever given a fraction of it. I didn't come from this historic, oh my goodness. I didn't come from this esoteric world. I came to it from the opposite direction. I worked in healthcare for many years, and I noticed that nobody made a call based on one thing. You look at the whole picture, multiple sources, multiple confirmations. That was just how it worked. Then I got into day trading in 2020, and the rule was the same. You don't enter a position on one indicator, you wait for confluence. Multiple independent signals agreeing before you move. Now, I'm in college for cybersecurity, and I'm sitting in class and they're explaining how threat analysis work. You don't respond to one alert. You correlate across multiple systems, and I'm thinking, I've heard this before. In my free time, I watch a lot of criminal documentaries, cold cases, true crime. And the cases that get solved, the ones where someone finally gets convicted after years, it's always because multiple independent pieces of evidence finally align. One witness isn't enough, one piece of physical evidence isn't enough. Multiple independent confirmations pointing to the same person. That's what closes a case. And I realized every serious field I had ever worked in, studied, or even been obsessed with used the same methodology. Multiple independent confirmations before calling something real. Then I look at how astrology, human design, numerology, and cardology were being taught and practiced. And I noticed nobody was doing this. People were running one system, sometimes two, never cross referencing, never asking, what do all of these say about the same person? Where do all of these agree? So I started doing it on myself. The Luminary method cross references four independent pillars: astrology, human design and gene keys, numerology, and cardology. Each one is calculated separately from your birth data. Each one produces its own picture of who you are. Then I look for where they all agree. When all four point to the same truth about the same person through completely different calculations from completely different source material, that agreement is not a coincidence. That's confirmation. One system pointing to something is a data point. Four systems pointing to the same thing is a signal. That is not spiritual. That is not a spiritual idea. That is the same standard that medicine uses, that law uses, that intelligence agencies use, that traders use, that cybersecurity analysts use. Multiple independent sources confirming the same conclusion before you act on it. I just applied it to esoteric decoding. So here's where we land. The systems work. Astrology works. Human design works. Numerology works. Cardology works. The practitioners who specialize in each one and go deep, they're doing the real work. But one system alone was never designed to carry the full weight of a conclusion about who you are. It was designed to be one lens, one angle, one layer of a much larger picture. The picture emerges where the systems agree. That's the difference between a reading and a confirmed decode. One system, one perspective. Four systems agreeing, one signal. That's what I do. And that's what this channel is about.